Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is prep for assignment 6, and we are working in Angular. And I have decided to break from tradition and show you how this is supposed to work from the beginning, because I want you to know where you're headed and the type of functionality we're going to put in place. So this is just a little app I put together that lets you build different kinds of lists. Okay. And I have all these fake lists in here that I created. And I know that you're used to me making things really colorful, but we're going minimalist today because I wanted to really focus on the functionality. Not to say there isn't a lot of CSS, because there is, just to help with how everything is arranged mostly. And then also some of the things we're going to look at, like conditional classes and things like that. So you can see already, I clicked on this thing here. It said add new list. So if I wanted a new list, I could come down here, and it gives me a place to put in a title, new list. And I can say it's a shopping list. And oh, well, new list isn't very exciting. Okay, we're going to say that I'm going to Target Boutique. Okay. And I'm going to, get some stuff because that's exciting. Okay, we'll create it, and there it is, our target list. But it doesn't have anything on it, so we're going to come here and say edit list. And I'll say I want to add a new item, and I'm going to say, I don't know, Tylenol and towels. Trying to think of things I buy at Target. Okay, I'm blanking, but anyway, you get the point. I don't know why I couldn't think of something, because that's silly. I guess I'm just tired. So you would add these things and you'd save it, and you'll notice that because I saved something blank, we have a blank thing here, and we could fix that by adding some additional functionality that would check to make sure that it doesn't save any blank fields. It currently does not have that. I can also delete a list, and I have a little pop-up in here. We're going to add that too. And are you sure you want to delete this list? And say, yes, I do, in fact, want to delete it. So, okay. And then it disappears. It's supposed to disappear. Oh, yes. This was the other new list that I added, right? Delete list. Okay. So, yes, that's pretty much it. So I know it appears to be pretty simple, and it is, but there's quite a lot that goes into making all of these things dynamic. And that's the beautiful thing about Angular. So let me switch over to the other branch, which I called, yeah, here we go. Okay. I'm gonna refresh this. Oh, sorry, wasn't done. Have to ng serve. Okay, and I'm gonna get my code actually on the screen, of course, so that you can see it. Now this is showing things because I didn't blank out everything. Actually, it's not supposed to be, Oh, okay. Hang on just a second. Sorry, guys. I'm in the live session branch. I thought I branched off. I apologize. I must have, yeah, I must have accidentally branched off of solution instead of the starter code. So I'm going to bring this over and find my way onto the screen. And there we go. Get it out here, we can see it. Okay, so now I'm going to do it properly and create a new branch, and we'll call it prep session. So it's got a new name. Okay, so now we're starting with the starter code, and if I serve it up, we should actually see some things that are not working. Okay, there we go. Okay, so right now, you know, the CSS is in place, and there's, you know, kind of a fake hard-coded title here, description here. These things exist. The CSS is working so that you can see it's got the little cursor, you know, over the text. But if I click on them, nothing happens because there's no functionality there. So our job is to, except for apparently I didn't change that. Okay. So our job is going to be to get some of these things in place. So I want to kind of just back up and let's talk about the components. If we were really going to do this full on out, it would take a lot longer than we have. And, you know, I would start at the beginning and actually go through creating the components and all of that. I think that just the mechanics of that is pretty well covered in the textbook. So, you know, let's get to the point where I've created these components, and basically you can see that I've got a current list, a header, a main, and then I added also a class down here. That's not it. Oh, it's here. I'm sorry, looking in the wrong place. I've also added this list class, okay, so that every list has a title, a type, a description, and a list of items that go on that list. And those are just strings. So it's an array of strings. And you'll notice that the constructor doesn't have the items. That's because when you create a list for the first time, you're not going to have any items on it yet. So I've gone ahead down here and just initialized it to an empty array. And I was going to, down the road, possibly write a search method and a sort method similar to what assignment 6 will do. They give you the code for that, but I have not gotten this application to that point yet. So you know, it'll be there, and maybe I'll get to it and then update it on the GitHub repo for you later. So for now, we just need to focus on this class. Everything we create is going to be based around this list, the list objects that we create from this class. Okay, so in the main component, well, the header, we can cover the header real fast. It literally is just, you know, a header. So it's got some CSS behind it, you know, to format it, and that's it. And I guess I should talk too about the CSS, the way that it works. If you still are unclear on how this goes, Angular gives you kind of like, you know, top level down functionality. So this style CSS that's outside the app folder, this is for the entire document, like, I mean, you know, the entire application. So anything you put in here is going to trickle down to all of the components. So if you have things that you find you use all over the place and you have some basic ways that you want to style them and define them, you can do it here, and then you'll always have that. But then when you get down to the point of looking at your individual components, you'll find that there's some things sometimes that you want to add that, and I think this is not supposed to be here because I actually ended up moving it to styles, but that's okay. There's things that you might want to have, you know, specified. So the header component, I, you know, just put some things right here. Like I modified what the H1 header element does just for this part. And in current list, you can see I've got quite a few things that are very specific to this component. So that's kind of how that works. And sometimes when you look at one of these and you realize there's hardly anything there, but it obviously has a lot of styling, it's because it all goes all the way back up to here, and that's where it's all going to come from. Okay, so enough about the CSS. Let's start with, let's go to main next, because main is where you have to start. If you don't create the list, you can't then add to it. So I've got this set. I guess I should show you down here at the bottom of main. You'll see that the component current list is actually nested inside the main component. You would, probably have thought that it might have been in the app component along with header and main. But for the sake of showing you how to pass variables from one component to another, which is something that happens in assignment 6, I decided to go ahead and put it inside of main. So that's why when you go back over to main, you'll see it down here. Okay, and I've got a to-do right there because we want to get that current list and all lists, those two variables, so that they carry through and can be used when we get to, the current list component. Okay, so let's, you can kind of see the basic, layout, and you can compare it to what's here. I've got, I'm gonna do this, there we go. I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, haha, click event, boom, okay. Let's pretend that's not here. Let's pretend that's not there either. Okay, so we've got a number of things going on. We've got our title here. That's the class pseudo button because I want it to kind of basically look, a little bit like a button that you're, choosing between. It's got, the hover stuff built in. And then there's this add new list thing. And right now that I fixed it, we can't click on it. It doesn't do anything. But the idea is that it will open up that form. So we want to add something to that. We also, once we get to the form, we'll have some things to do. So let's just focus on these first two things. The title, we are going to take a look. Obviously, I told you I had some lists that I created ahead of time just for the sake of demonstration. So that's what these are. I created the list. I initialized several based on the list class. And then I added all my items to the, items property of each of those lists. And this is, you wouldn't actually start the application this way. If somebody was using it for themselves, they would start with nothing. Both of these would still be empty. Up here, I've got all lists declared as an array of lists, and I've got it initialized to an empty array. And I actually have current lists as null. So what I did is, for the sake of starting out, I created my lists, and then I set this current list is equal to this all list 0, so that it would just default to the first one, okay? And this is actually, you'll notice this is a method, and I did that because I wanted to be able to make it all happen right when the page initializes. So this ng on init, this is where you put anything that you want to happen right up front. When you're fetching data, a lot of times this is where that'll go. I believe that for the sake of the assignment 6, they may have done some stuff in the constructor instead, and that's okay. Because essentially both of these things are what come up the very first time. So I've got this, and I don't, I want to point out too, in case you guys are still a little fuzzy on JavaScript versus TypeScript, you'll notice that these, which are properties, but in TypeScript, they're also called fields. There's no, let or const. You don't see that here. If it's a global property of this entire class right here, it doesn't get a let. You just declare it, but you do have to type it. So this is given the type array of lists. This is type list. This is type Boolean. So is this one. And then, those are declared just like they are in any other class, like in JavaScript, above the constructor. And then any of your methods are going to go below the constructor. So that's why that's there. We got a couple more down there that we're going to look at in a second. But anyway, that's the lay of the land. And when you do get into the methods, so we have this method that I've written called view new list. It just takes a list in and it doesn't return anything. So we have to type that entire method as void because it is not going to return anything. And then of course the parameter here, you notice that it's typed as well. We had to say that the list is a list object from the class list class. But in here, aside from referring to this property as this dot current list, because we are inside of a class, you know, if we were to create a new variable, we would have to use let. And I think there's going to be some examples of that over in another component. Because once you kind of get inside of it, after you've done all the stuff up here, inside here, you're in JavaScript. So you're just going to proceed as normal with all your normal JavaScript syntax. It's just that when you have global variables that are outside of it, you have to use the this in front of it. Okay, is everybody clear on that? Good. Okay. So let's see. So this right here is going to be how we're going to, you know, tell it to change the list. And then this is going to actually be what creates the new list when we click on the button after we fill out the form. But we need to be able to get to the form first. Let's concentrate on that. We also want to display a title. So I've already made this where these have all been created behind the scenes, right? So let's tap into that. We said that we created these lists and then I went ahead and assigned this first list, Schnucks, to the current list. So if we come over here to our main component, all we have to do here is use Angular, basic Angular display of data from the TypeScript file, and just say that it's going to be current list, which is that variable is available to you because it's in the component. Current list dot title, because that's the property. Remember, if we go back to our list, you know, title, type, description, items, those are our properties. So we'll refer to those a lot. And I was where? I was here. Nope, I was here. Okay. And you notice that you see that it popped up, right? So there's Schnucks. So we have that in place now. That's good. And then we need to add the conditional visibility here. We'll do the conditional visibility. Let's do that click event first, okay? So anytime you have a click event in Angular, you just use click. I know some people had questions about what kind of the difference is between DOM and Angular. It's really just about the syntax, how you refer to things. So instead of, you know, having a document dot, you know, add listener and all that kind of stuff, you just come in here to the HTML and you put this, you know, inline attributes here, and the click in parentheses, those are events. So you can see click, sometimes you see change, submit, there's a number of them. And we're going to just basically call that method, view new list, okay? Wait, hold on. View new list, create new list. Yes, create new list is what we want. Why? Oh, right, okay. I apologize, we're not calling a method yet because we're not actually in the form yet. To view the form, I created this Boolean called adding new list. So we're either adding a new list or we're not, right? So it starts off with false. And if it's false, then this is visible. And once we, if it becomes true, then this is going to actually go away and we're going to have some conditional visibility to make this form show up. So let's do that. You can see I still have that in here. I didn't blank it out. So this whole div right here, all the way down to here, it contains that entire form. It's conditional on whether adding new list is true or not. That's why we haven't seen it. And I know everything disappeared, and it's because I didn't finish this. So what we need to do here is say that when we click, adding new list becomes true. Okay, and as soon as that becomes true, then it's going to flip everything around. Yep, check it out. And I can hit cancel, but nothing's going to happen because I haven't changed it to make it close it yet. Now the add new list thing, we really don't want that there if the form is open. So stop it. Cat's getting into things. Stop it. So we're going to add something here too, where this is only visible if we are not adding a new list. So the bang operator that you use to say, you know, not is not, that's really, really handy in Angular. It's very helpful as a quick way to reference a Boolean to say something either is true or it is not true. So down here we say, you know, we want this form to show up if adding new list is true. And here it's basically saying if it's not true. And clicking this button is going to make all the difference. Meanwhile, down here, we have these buttons, you know, cancel buttons. And if we want to get back out of it, we're going to need to have a click event here as well. Excuse me, wrong type of bracket. Okay. And if this clicks, then that's going to actually make adding new list false. So let's check that out, just that little bit right there. Add new list. You notice the adding new list thing disappeared, and then cancel, and it takes us back. Okay. So this is one of many examples of this sort of thing you're going to see. And then also, let's see, what else do we need to do up here? I think that's it for now. So we've made it possible for us to get back and forth from viewing the list to adding a new list. So now we need to check our functionality here. Right now, if I click on create, nothing happens. So let's go take a look at that. Remember that I have a function I've written, a method here that creates a new list. It takes the title, the type, and the description, which are all strings, and it doesn't return anything. So it's typed as a void in TypeScript. And then inside, it basically just says, as long as the title is not empty, then it'll do what we need it to do. But if the title is empty, we've got this other Boolean that it created called form incomplete, and we'll show why that's important in a second. So for now, we're going to focus on this right here, which basically says we're going to take that title, type, and description that were passed into this method up here from the form, and we're going to create a new list. And remember, those are the parameters, the arguments for that. And we're going to push it into our all lists array up here. Well, technically, it started up here, right? Okay, and then we're going to make form incomplete and adding new list false, so that as soon as we hit that create button, the form goes away and we come back to the regular screen. So let's do that. We're going to say that the submit button, when we click on that, is going to be equal to create new list. And there again, we are inside a component. Anytime you're inside a component, I'm in main.component.html, I have immediate access to any properties or methods of this. I just have to call them. That's it. But this one does require parameters. So let's put some arguments in there. This is another thing that's important. You'll notice that up here for these input fields, I gave them these template variables. And this takes the place of attributes like name. And it also, in Angular, gives you the ability to immediately reference this entire element. And so I can basically just say that I want the first thing to represent the title to be the title field, and then we're going to grab the value from that, because the field itself is just an object that has a bunch of properties, but we actually need the value of whatever the person typed into that input field. So we're going to do that. And then the second one, of course, was the type. So same thing, type field dot value, and then the description field dot value. And as long as those three things are passed in, our method here is going to take them and push them, create a new list with them, and then push that new list into the array of all lists. So let's try it out, and hopefully I haven't forgot anything. Okay, my new list, and let's say it's a to-do list, and do lots of stuff. Okay, create. Did it happen? It did happen, but you know what? We don't have any way to view it because we haven't actually made it possible for this to show all the lists. And we know that because we don't see all those other lists I created, right? So we need to go back up here and check this out. Okay. Current list.title. Okay. So I have the current list.title, but what I have not done is actually iterate through all lists. So this is where the structural directive ng4 comes in handy. We're going to say let lists, sure, keep it simple, of all lists. And that specifically refers to the variable from the main TypeScript file. And you see it immediately pulled that out. But because I'm still referring to current list here, it's just showing the same thing over again. So I have to actually refer to this local, list singular, this local variable that I just created, and it exists right here for anything that's inside this div. That's the only place it exists. So list.title, and now you come over here and you can see I've got all of my actual, specific lists, index 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that I had created ahead of time. And if I add my, apparently I did not add to the new list. Oh no, of course I did. Okay, this is the downside of not having a back end to your application. When you're in development, anything you do, as soon as you change something and it updates, you lost anything you just did. So I'm going to have to show it to you again. My list, stuff, and other stuff, and create, and there it is. Okay, so now we can see that it's working and it shows up because we actually now have this dynamic ability to display every single list that's in that array. Okay, is everybody tracking with me? I can't see most of you, but okay. Let's take a look now at the next part. I'm going to make sure I've got the click event and I've got the conditional. So we're done with that to do. Boom. And up here, oh, we've got some conditional classes, and I want to remind myself of exactly. Oh, right. Yeah, we can do this now. All right. So over here, I've got in the main component, I've got these special classes called selected and not selected. And what this is going to do for us, I already in the styles.css for the entire application, I have, the pseudo button thing kind of worked out. I've got my hover, all that thing. But right now it's like I can click on these, and of course, if you could see what was happening over here, but we haven't done that yet. But it's not, showing which one I've selected, right? So I created the selected and non-selected. So basically, if it's selected, it's going to change the background color to this off-white that I've got. It's kind of more like a light gray, I suppose. And then this off black, will become the font color. So we just have to implement it. And so the question you're asking yourself, if you haven't learned how to do this yet, is how do you dynamically apply a class? So let me show you. There's a handy little syntax where you can say class.selected, and you always say class, and then you name the specific class that you want, and then you tell it a condition. So it's a Boolean. So it basically is saying only use this class if this is true. And in this case, we want list to equal current list. Okay, and remember, current list is coming from our TypeScript file. List is coming from right here. It's coming from, it's basically saying the current list that we're on this iteration, check that against the current list. And if it matches, then we want this to show. So if I click on this, well, yeah, so it's showing Schnooks because that's the one that's clicked. Now we haven't added the click functionalities to the buttons yet, so that they themselves will make things happen. So it's not changing it to represent the current list, but it will. So let's say while we're at it, we're going to do the other one because we would want it to revert back. I think I called it not selected. Yeah, okay. And that's going to be equal to the condition. And this is pretty straightforward, right? It's just going to be list is not equal to current list. All right. So yeah, so we've got two different conditional classes, and they basically are the opposites of each other. And this, you don't always need to have it this way, but in this case, it pretty much is a binary situation. You either want it to show as selected or not. So as soon as we get the ability to actually select things, we will see that in action. All right. So let's see. Aha. This is where our view new list method is going to come into play. Sorry, wrong file. That's a CSS. We want to see. Yes, here we go. Okay. Let's double click on that so it sticks. There we go. So this is our other function here, that view new list. It takes in a list and just sets the current list to that list. I know I'm saying the word list a lot, but this is kind of how this goes. So back over here, we can add a click event to the button. And we're just going to say that we want to call that view new list. See that right? Yeah. And we're going to take in the list here again, just as a reminder. This variable is what comes from the ng4 right here. So we're saying we want to show the current list that we're on, whichever one this is. And ultimately, it's going to make it to where when we get to the current list component over here, and we carry that, that variable, that field over, then you'll actually see the list over here, but we haven't gotten there yet. So for now, at least we know, if this works, we'll know that we have actually successfully changed the list when we click on it. There we go. Okay, so you can see evidence that it did update the current list behind the scenes, because every time I click on it, it checks to see which class it's supposed to apply here, and then it changes it, and it changes the other one back when it's no longer the current list. Okay, so we've got our cancel in effect. We've got our create in effect. And there it is. But nothing's happening on the right side. So let's talk about the other. Oh, wait, hang on. I did this. I told you that I was going to tell you what the warning stuff was for, and the form incomplete was for. And I almost failed to do that, to show you that. Okay, so we want, I'm going to cut and paste it because I don't want this to take forever. Okay. we want, if they go in and start to use this form, right now, it doesn't do anything when I hit create because I've told it not to, but it doesn't tell the user why. And when I say I told it not to, remember this form incomplete? It does not actually do anything here and create that new list as long as there's nothing in the title field that's passed in. So over here, we just want to make sure that I've got it. I'm not sure if I've added that yet. The cancel button, yeah. So we haven't actually, when you create a new list, it handles the form incomplete, but it's not actually handling it here. So here's what happens. If you need to do two different things with a click event, like you need to change a variable and you need to call a method, or you need to change two variables, which is what's happening right now, you just use a semicolon like that. So we're going to say that we want form incomplete also to be false if they cancel. So that way, if they, haven't done it, it's okay. They can just back out, but then it resets that in case it had been, and we'll show that in a second. So I have created this little warning here that only shows up if form incomplete is true. And the way that it gets changed to true, of course, is this check right here whenever the create button is hit. It'll set this to true, and then the user will actually see what's going on because this warning is in place. Please give your list a title. And this class right here is going to be responsible for some color. So let's take a look. Yeah, please give your list a title. And then I want to take it a step further, right? I want to actually make it really, really obvious what's going on. So there are a number of ways to do this, by the way. This is just one of many ways. Angular actually has some built-in form validation stuff, and it works really beautifully with Bootstrap if you ever use Bootstrap for styling. But it's not something we're getting into today. So I just basically created it in a way that is important for you right now. And this is just another conditional class. So up here on this input for the title, we're going to add a conditional class. And if it's empty, we're going to use the class empty warning, and we're going to make it equal to form incomplete. Okay. So now let's try that again. And it didn't work. Why didn't it work? What did I do? Interesting. Okay, it's supposed to have a red border, and I'm not sure why it doesn't. Syntax looks right. Class.empty warning. Yeah, if I go back over to, I believe that one is in styles. Yep, empty warning. See, it turns it red and puts kind of a pinkish background on it, which would be lovely if it was actually working. So there must be something with the logic. Anytime you know your CSS is good, and the reference to it is good, because I've got the class name correct, then probably we've got something going on with our logic. So let's double check. False. Create new list. So yeah, it sets it true. I'm honestly not sure why it's not activating that particular class. Okay, maybe it will come to me at some point, and then I will be able to demonstrate it. I might figure it out in relationship to something else in a minute, but okay, let me make sure over here that I've done everything we said we were going to do. So we had our conditional classes added, boom. We iterated for all of the lists, and we added the click functionality and the list title. So this is all done. here, added conditional visibility, and that's done. And added conditional class. I did it. It's not working, but I did it. So you know what I'm going to say? Fix me. It's another beautiful little built-in thing there. Because it's not working. We don't know why yet. So I'm going to put myself a note, and then I can come back later and see what happened. We got our click functionality here for both of our pseudo buttons. I call them pseudo buttons, by the way, because I didn't actually use the button tag. I created divs instead, and there's a number of reasons I do that. One is that it's a little less, slightly less problematic, not problematic, it's slightly less work to restyle it if you want it to look a certain way compared to a button, and more like cross-browser friendly. But also, you're not having to deal with some of the things that browsers automatically do when buttons, like refreshing the page, things like that. So sometimes it can be advantageous to do this, but you can use buttons. You just have to be able to deal with it, with whatever functionality the button brings. So I'm going to turn my ringer off. And then I'm going to make sure that we've covered everything here. Yeah. So this one, we only needed to call this function because handling the adding new list in the form incomplete, we actually took care of that inside. Sorry, again. Oh, it disappeared on me. We took care of that inside. Oh, I was in the right place. Inside of here by making those both faults here. So I didn't have to do it separately. And part of that was because it was conditional, because I wanted to be able to handle, we only want to do this if it's passed this test right here. So we got that. And then this click event, we made sure that it handles making both of those faults if they cancel out. So this one, add warning if incomplete, that's working. So, aha, okay. We want to work in this other component. We want to go over here to current list, and things that we do in this component, we want to impact what happens in this component. And we also need for this component to be able to access the values of current list and all lists. It's going to be important. So there's syntax for that too. Angular lets you do this type of data binding, and you can call, you can say what you want it to be and what you want to call it. And I find it's convenient just to call them the same thing, but that's not, it doesn't have to be that way. And then same thing here. We want to pass over all lists to that component. So I've done that, and now suddenly anything that happens over in the other component, it not only has access to it, it can change them. So that's a pretty cool thing. We're going to see that in just a minute. All right, so we've got those connected, and I believe that is it for that one. So let's go over to the current list component. Right now I've got, you know, oh, look at that. See, it already showed up. So I have these things in place, and you can see that I didn't take some things out that I meant to. So let's pretend that isn't there. Yeah, okay. So right now it's like if you haven't actually put in some of the structural directives, you're just gonna have a bunch of generic stuff. None of your little, clicker things are gonna work. So we're gonna add that functionality. First thing is pretty easy. Up here, excuse me. Woo, okay. Oh, one more thing before I forget. We want to see what the result, see, here's the other side of that functionality with the current list. You have to have done these input decorators. And I think ideally, I should have put a to-do on this. wrong language. Okay. And I just have to remember that for when I go back and set the starter code again. So all you do basically is say, I'm going to use the input decorator, and it has to be imported. So you want it up here. And I'm going to, name and just kind of, this is your way of instantiating, initializing these, I should say, in this component. You do it like normal. I want all lists. I want it to be an array of lists, and I want current lists, and I want it to be a list. But you put this decorator in front of it, and that is what ties into these little attributes right here. And it says, okay, you're not just, creating new variables to be used, creating new properties. You're actually going and getting existing properties from another component. Okay, so that's where those are coming from. So when I work in here, I can refer to them just like I do when I'm in the main component. So up here, that means we can come up here and say current list dot title, just like we did on the buttons on the other one. And you see that updated to schnooks. And then the description, we can do the same thing. Current list dot description. And boom, groceries and household items. Okay, so we got that. Conditional visibility and click functionality. All right. In order for us to edit the list or delete the list, we will need to make these functional. Before I do that, though, I want to make sure we get our display working. So let's just go down to here and work on this. I'm going to put this back. We're using another structural directive in Angular called ng4, let item of current list dot items. So you remember that one of the properties of lists is that array of items. And we're calling it, and we're saying we just want to look at one of those at a time. And then we bring in the item name. It's already here, as you can see. And we have it as part of a checkbox label. And that, just gives some functionality to where the person can just come in and say, yeah, I got that, I got that, I got that, got that. Completely forgot the dark chocolate Oreos. What was I thinking? And so then we got that taken care of. So boom, just like that, we have all of our items that we had created for this particular list. And if I switch lists, look what happens. Because over here, I took care of making sure current list gets changed whenever I click on the one that matches it. This updates as well. Boom. It's dynamic. We have never left this page. We have never refreshed this page. We're in two different components, and yet I have this kind of functionality. So it's pretty cool. This is where, Angular, you can kind of see how powerful it is, and the flexibility that gives you even though you're keeping your things very organized and kind of side by side, you have a lot of flexibility for how you display things and what you include in different pages, or different components rather, but also different pages if you have a multi-page site. So now we'll go back up to here and say we want to be able to get into edit or delete this list. So we need some conditional or click functionality. Let's do that first. So why don't we, though, just take a look real quick at our methods. I, similar to how I did over in the main component, I've got some methods, and I also have these Booleans. Are you editing? Are you not editing? Has the form complete? Did they blank out the title and forget to, save it? Or, put something new in its place. And so that just kind of keeps a check on things. And then we have down here 4 different things. This one will allow us to add one item to the items array for the current list. This one will save an item if you go in and you edit it. This one will save the entire list, and we'll go through that a little bit later. And this will delete the list. And we'll talk about that in a second too. Okay, so in order to even open this up, all we really need to depend on for these is the conditionals. So, I mean the Booleans, conditionals. All right, so same thing here. We are going to say click, and when we click this, we're going to say that editing is true. And when we click this one, we're going to call our delete function, which I believe does not take any parameters, but we can double check that. Is that true? Yeah, no parameters. Okay. So now something should happen when we do each of these. So we need to kind of check and see if that's working. So if I say edit the list, boom, it switches and all the stuff I've got down here shows up. You don't really see anything there. We're about to change that. If I try to cancel this, it's not going to happen because we don't have that in place yet. But you can see that at least that one button worked. It also disappeared. Okay. Whoa, what did I do? Go back. I meant to hit refresh. Okay. Now I can hit delete here and it could like immediately delete the list. But what do you usually see on a delete button? There's usually some sort of, are you sure you want to do that? So when I hit this, we have a little pop-up, and you remember these from the DOM like 2 weeks ago, that you have this, alerts and confirms that you can pull up. This is one area where Angular just taps right into that same functionality that the browsers have, that are methods of the window object. So if we go back over into here and come down and look at our delete list, I just use that confirm. It's the same thing as saying window.confirm. And so, like I said, Angular's tapping into that, just like you use in the DOM. And we ask, are you sure you want to lose this? And this is a Boolean because it comes back true or false. So if it's true, then we're going to go ahead and take the all lists array, splice it so that we take out the current list, and then, but just that one. And of course, there's not a third parameter because we're not adding anything back in. And then we look and say, okay, if the list still has stuff in it, then we'll set the current list back to 0. We'll just reset it to that because obviously it's not this one anymore because we just deleted it. Otherwise, if that was the only list and we just deleted it, then we're just going to say this is null. And it's not even going to try to display anything. So that is what's happening right there. So we just went and made it possible when we click that one little button for it to call that and make all that happen. So delete list, okay. And it's just deleting lists left and right. And then you can see it just makes the, whatever the new top one is, I can come up down here, delete this one. And ooh, that did not work the way it was supposed to. Oh, it did. It just didn't highlight it. Oh, see, that's something we're going to need to look into because that's interesting. Oh, because it's a click event, right? All right. Interesting. So that's something that we would have to address. We would have to make it so that when we run delete list over in this component, that it actually can come back and affect this to where this whole the actual conditional class can update, not just the current list itself. So that is something I'm going to put a fix me on here. Conditional class functional. Okay.
Carrie?
Yes.
Can we go back to the delete me function real quick?
Sure. What is happening over here?
Delete
Okay.
list or whatever it's called.
Yes, the delete list. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't understanding. I don't know if I just didn't hear it, but why is it index of this current list and then 1? Why is it the 1?
Okay, so the splice array method,
Mm-hmm.
you have to tell it what index to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And the quickest way for us to find that out is just to use index of, because
Yeah.
we want to say, okay, take the current list and then look and find out where it was. And
Mm-hmm.
then that's the one we want to take out, and we're only taking out one. Because
Oh,
you
okay.
could say, if you wanted to delete the next 3, you could say, but yeah, that's what that means. And
Oh, that's just the amount of things we're deleting, the 1?
mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
okay.
the other reason that you have to have that there is because splice can also be used to add things into an array at a specific place. So if I
Okay.
had something that I wanted to add and I didn't want to just push it onto the end, I could say I want it to go at this index, whatever this index is, but then I would have to say 0 for this because I would not want to actually delete anything. And then for the third parameter, you would say how many you were adding.
Okay, cool. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Or what you're adding. Yeah. Yeah, what you're adding. So yeah, so that's what that's doing. It's basically allowing us just to get to a very specific place and make sure that the one we're deleting is the one we actually want to delete. Okay. So I've got my little fix me in there, and the conditional visibility appeared to already, I have to come back to that. Okay. So our checklist functioning. All right, let's take a look at this form. So right now, the form shows up because we changed the visibility, made it show up, but it has nothing here. So we want to actually go in and put some values in here. And it's not, we're used to having these placeholders with forms that we can put, like right here, I've got that description placeholder. And that's because they may not have saved something to begin with. But if they did save something, we want that to show up. So this is the way we do it. We're going to come into the input field. Let's start with the title. And we're going to say that the value is equal to, and then we go and we pull current list dot title like that. So let's try that. There it is. So you can see that the form actually started out with Schnucks pre-filled because I told it to start with that value. And so we're going to do the same thing here. Well, things are getting in the way. Okay, go over there. We're going to come down here and say value equals, and then go get the current list dot description. And then if we update and go to the form, there it is, because I had saved a description for that. Otherwise, if I had not, again, that placeholder would just be there. Okay, and got the value there. Here is a conditional class. I have to remember what that is. Oh, it's that same empty warning for the form being incomplete. We can go ahead and put it here. I'll be interested to see if it doesn't work here either. I still don't know why that would be, but okay. The only reason I can, I was moving some of my CSS around, like when I realized I needed it in more than one component, I was putting it up in styles.css. And so it's possible that I've got something somewhere else that's overriding it or something that I need to clean up, but we'll find out. Okay, I can't test it yet because we haven't gotten our button working at the bottom, but we've got it in place. So we'll move on from that. Okay, so now we go in, we've got our title, we've got our description, but none of our list items are showing up. So guess what we get to do with arrays? We get to iterate, right? So we've got this iteration going, and this might seem a little bit strange, but I don't know if you picked up on this yet. I not only am creating the ability to look at one item at a time out of all of the items on that list. I also added this let I equals index. That is something that I did not discover until I was doing my capstone project, where I very badly needed it. And it's pretty cool because it allows you to track an index. No matter how many it's creating, it just tracks it. And then you can actually send that index back and it helps you on the other end. And we're going to see how that works in just a second. So let's go for this. And actually, I need to look up here. Sorry. Checking against my stuff to make sure I'm not missing anything. We got typist text. Okay, so here we go. First of all, we want to do what we just did above, and we want to give it a value so that it pre-fills everything. And that's just going to be the item itself, because in this case, we've just said that we want to look at this one item at a time, and it's just a string. So we can just, call that directly. And then we also want the change functionality. So got that part. All right, so now this is where we go back and we take a look at our methods. I wrote a method to where you can edit, and we're going to actually make it so that if they edit an item, it saves it immediately without us going down to our save button, because we need those to be able to save individually. And you can do it the other way around where you save them all at once, but it's a little more complicated. This is actually the easier way to do it. So we're going to make it dynamic, where it saves immediately. And you'll notice, so it passes in the item, the actual string, which is going to be the new value that they just put in. And it also passes that I, which makes it really easy, because all we do is we go to current list and the items array and just go directly to that index, because we were tracking it in our HTML. And then we set it equal to the new value for that string. Okay, did everybody track with that? Sort of. Okay. So, oops, this way. So yeah, so we're gonna want to make sure that we call it, but this is not a click event. We're actually going to do this as a change event. So it basically says as soon as you start altering it, it's going to start updating what it saves. And so we'll say that that is save item. And we are going to refer to the list item and its value, and then also pass in that value for I. And you'll notice when I say list item, I'm referring to this. This is another one of those template variables that it doesn't matter which one I'm on that I'm going for. It knows to use that to reference and say, okay, I'm looking at the value of the one that I'm on, and that's the string that I'm going to send to that function to save. And then, so let's just see where we are. Yeah, we've got our items. So let's say I wanted to go in here. Oh, I can't do it until I can close the form properly. So let's put a pin in that. We'll come back and I will show you the result of that in just a second. Okay, so our buttons down here, let's skip to here. We've got these save and cancel buttons. Right now, neither of them do anything. We need to change that. The first one, like we just talked about, it's a click event, and we want to save the list. So we're going to call that save list function that we've got. This one is pretty much the same as the create list function in the other component, where you're just passing in the values of those three fields that it can then save. And that should take care of that.
I think you have a type from value, type field.value.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, was going back over it like I wasn't even watching when I was typing. So yeah, thank you. And like going back and forth between my, solution over here on the side to make sure I'm not leaving anything out. Okay, and then the cancel button, similarly to before, we want to use the right syntax. Okay. Apparently my fingers and my brain are not coordinating today, apparently. Okay. We're going to change editing defaults. This is very similar to before. In fact, it's exactly the same as before. Slightly different variable name, but yeah. And so we're setting both of those. I'm losing my mind. Hang on. There we go. Okay. Had to get my quotes in the right place. We're setting editing equal defaults and form incomplete defaults so that it will change the visibility and take us back to the actual list itself. So let's take a look at that. We save it, it closes it. We cancel it, closes it. So that's working. Let's actually see what happens when we make some changes here. Let's say I decide to go over to Dearbirds instead. So I got Dearbirds, and I'm also going to get, I'm going to visit the flower shop and flowers. Okay. And I want to pick up some bananas. Maybe I'm more in the mood for those instead of apples. So we're going to test all of these and see, make sure they all save. And there we go. Dearbirds, flowers, bananas. So we know that all of our functions are working as intended. The bananas changed as soon as I saved it, before I even came down and hit the save button. But then when I came down here and hit save, it saved it. Now let's go look at that. I want to go over that method because this is a little different than the create list. You pass in the same values, and we're going to use the same way of saving it, but we have to, do a couple different things. This is also the same. We're making sure that if the title doesn't have a value, that it sends back form incomplete so that it doesn't allow you to submit. It doesn't go any further. But this is different. First, we just need a way to actually store the items in a current list as they exist right now. Because remember, if we changed anything in that list, it already has been changed in current list. It was changed up here. So the item array stored with current list right now, when we click that button, is the one we want to save. But we don't have a way to pass that in because that's not how we set up our constructor for the list object. So we're just going to store it here in updated items, and then we're going to create a new list, set it equal to current list so that it updates the title and everything. And then we'll go and we'll add that array back in and make sure that all of them, any of the updated items, all of the items really, because otherwise when we instantiate a new list, it just sets that items array to an empty array, right? So right here, we've got an empty array, which is why we have to make sure we go back and put those items back. So that's what's going on right there. A couple extra lines of code, but it just makes sure it's, pretty much the easiest way to get that array stored back. And then, form incomplete false, editing equals false, and that makes sure that we get our list back. So last couple of things, we want to add that warning for if your title is not there. So like right now, if we go over here to edit and we accidentally get rid of the title and we try to save, nothing happens, but it's also not telling us why nothing's happening. So actually, I'll just replace that. So we're going to add that warning in, and now let's test it out. There it is. Please give your list a title. And there again, the other thing didn't work, and I still don't know why. So I'll have to investigate that later. So last thing is to make it possible to add new items to the list. And that's actually really important, right? Because if we come over here and add a new list and stuff and create, okay. And then I select it, there's nothing there. And right now I don't have a way to add new items to the list. If they were already there, I am able to edit them. And normally that would need to be the case, because like I said before, the only reason stuff's already here is because I preloaded it just for the sake of demonstration. So because there is no back end, I had nothing, no other way to save it. So we are going to go and we're going to add this in, and we've got a little tiny method for that too. Add item. And all it does is take the current list, go to its items array and push an empty string. And that might seem like it's not doing anything, but it does, because it creates another index with a string, even if it's empty. And so then dynamically what happens is your list is going, your list of fields to edit the items is going to reflect that there is actually now a whole new set of items with an extra index in it, right? So let's see that demonstrated. Oh, but first we have to call it. Okay, so if we click on this, we want it to call add item. Okay, I think that's it, right? Add item. Yep, that's it. Doesn't take any parameters. So edits, and I want to add a new item list. There we go. And I can keep pressing that, and every time it's going to put an empty string in there, so it's, you know, doesn't have anything in there, but it gives me a way to create things. So, you know, I also need a new toothbrush, and that's interesting. I'm not sure how that happened. Something about like something I used tab. That's interesting. Okay. Something that I did not address in this example is the ways that you can tell it how to respond to keystrokes. Things like, you know, enter, like key up. You may have seen that. I know that's covered in either the second to last chapter or the last chapter. And I have not included that in here, but I could go back and add it before I, you know, post the link to the GitHub repo, and then you guys would be able to see some of that in action. Right now, it's completely dependent on me taking the mouse and clicking buttons to make things happen. Okay, so anyway, you see the result of that. I save it, and of course, I should have put that something there. And again, like I said earlier, I do not right now have a way to delete things, individual things there. So I would need to put that in there to make sure that that doesn't happen, or make it possible to where when it, oh, I updated it, where it, when it goes to save it, that it would just remove anything that was still an empty string. Okay, we did the click functionality and here as well. So I think conditional visibility, let me check and make sure I don't have, okay. Oh, right, okay. Let's check this out. It's interesting. I was expecting for these two items right here to only disappear if I told them to, but they are disappearing anyway. Interesting. Okay. I guess because I didn't say one way or the other. Well, that doesn't make sense either. Okay, I'm gonna ignore that right now, but ideally, I'll have to figure that out. You would have something like this, and put it in here and change it to not editing. So that would ensure that it disappears when you change over into editing. So yeah, Not 100% sure why it was disappearing before without that. I think we've covered all of the things that I wanted to, like live code. I feel like it's probably good to just go over some other general things about how this all fits together. But I know we just kind of pushed through that pretty fast. Do you guys have questions? The things that I can clarify, or things that I haven't talked about that you want to know about?
I do have a question. It might be silly. When you set up all those new lists, I can't remember which file it's in. Yeah. Sorry, let me just think about it for a second.
All right.
Yeah, I'm not sure what my question is anymore. Sorry.
That's all right. That's okay. Yeah, it's like I said, if you had a back end, this stuff would be saved into your database, and you would have it set up to pull from the database so that when your user comes back in, everything's there that they would have saved in a previous session. Right now, when you're learning basic Angular and you're just getting that front end, part down, there is no back end. And as soon as you either change something in your code, which forces an update, or leave the page, close the session and then come back later, none of your changes are going to be saved. So the only way for me to kind of mimic having a back end was to put some code in here to create these items so that when I come in completely fresh, there's already some things here to look at. Right.
Right. Yeah. I'm sorry if we've already covered this. My brain is definitely blurring things together. How comes we can do like 5 new lists? Is it because they're all stored in the this.all lists? Yeah, right there.
What was your question though? How come we can do what?
Well, because we can just say new list because we're using TypeScript, right? We don't have to assign it to a variable specifically.
Right, yeah. So like when I come down here and hit this create button, it's going to create a new list with the input that comes back from the form, from those input fields, and it'll push it into all lists. So then you won't see it. I mean, we can actually, I can demonstrate it. So let's console log all lists right after we push it. And let's take a look at that. Oh, it has to be, of course, that all list because it's a global variable. Okay. And we'll come over here and look at our JavaScript console in the browser. All right. Let's pull that puppy out. Okay. So let's add a new list. New list and create it. And you can see it says list. So we have 6 lists, so we can see that, right? If we come down, we get to see a little bit more information. We can see those main properties. Let me actually pull this further out. Yeah.
So they just don't need a variable name.
Say that again?
Like, because I guess I'm just used to seeing it as like, let list 1 equal blah, 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 let list 2 equal.
Right, yeah, but because we have established a class for list, it gives that structure and allows you to create an object directly from it that has predefined properties. So you create a new list object from the list class, and it will have a title, it will have a type, it will have a description, and it will have an empty array for items until you add things to it. And that's why I had to do this after I did this. That's, it takes the place of me coming over here and doing, add new, and typing them all in manually.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you would do it the very first time. But because I'm simulating coming back from the database, we're pretending all of these things have been stored in the database, and that's how they get there.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, I closed the console. That's all right. Yeah, by the way, that's a great way to see what's actually happening in your TypeScript files, just like you have in so many other places. You just come in here and stick a console log in there, just for the sake of being able to see in the browser what's happening at any given point. So I was able to, show you what all of those items were in that list, by doing it that way. Yeah. Any more questions?
Is it possible you could go over attribute directive a little bit? I know you kind of used them, I feel like, within this program you built, but it's actually in like the next chapter, and I went ahead and I've read the next chapter, and so we haven't actually covered it in class just yet.
Right, I know, because it's
but it's in the project. Like, we have to do it in the project. So I'm trying to get past a certain point in the project at this point, and I'm stuck on attribute directives, like just understanding how they kind of work and connect with each other.
I am looking at the curriculum now so that I make sure I'm matching up and with the way that they've presented it, talking about it the same way. Yeah, so the main thing is that you remember the syntax for it, right? That you use those square brackets. So let me find a couple examples of where I did that. I mean, really, it would be either one of these.
The class selected,
Yeah, exactly. So we've got two of them here, where, I wanted to only apply the class if something was true. And so this is the most common, I think, way you'll see it used like this, in the middle of something that has content, where, and it's very common to use it for classes, specifically because you don't really have another way. It's not like it is with the DOM, where you can take the object and assign values back to the class. Exactly. So the easiest way to do it, it's actually easier in my opinion, is to just have a predefined class over in your CSS, and then just refer to it. You assign it to it conditionally right there in line, as part of your HTML.
Okay, because you said that it's a Boolean, right? So if I had right there, you had a method that had returned a Boolean, could you put the method there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, because sometimes you do actually need to process some things in order to decide whether, because it's not necessarily a variable, or something like this where it's just a quick comparison.
Okay.
Anything that evaluates to true or false will work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I kind of understand them better than I thought I did.
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's you could actually it doesn't have to be a conditional. There are also cases, I don't know if I actually did it. So like if you didn't have it where it was actually all predefined before, you could actually just do it, and this would look a lot more similar to what you saw it with the DOM, where you just go, style dot color and
Oh, yeah.
change the color of the text. And then you could just say, I want to change it to, dark gray or something.
Okay, yeah. That's very familiar.
Yeah, except for that didn't work. So where did I broke it? It doesn't like my, let's try. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that's the long list. Yeah, it's ignoring it, but it's because there's other stuff going on.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, I've got different styling for the pseudo buttons in the first place. So this only really comes into play once you have the current list. Yeah, it's okay. So this is not a good place to demonstrate that.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, you absolutely can change something directly that way. But I think the reason that it's most common to do it as a Boolean is because it's a situation where it's dynamic. You want it to change when something happens, and you need to know, when that is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
I actually think I might have one more question. When you in your class, do you have methods defined in the class? I'm just curious.
Which
I
one?
can't remember. I'm assuming you do.
Which class? One of the components or the list class?
I guess the list class.
I don't yet. That's what I was like
Oh,
thinking about
okay.
writing a search method or sort method, and I didn't get there yet.
Okay.
But I could.
Okay.
Yeah, because that'd be something that would be cool, is if you could come in here and actually say, sort alphabetically or something. I tend to
Okay.
write my grocery list in order of department, so that it's like, from right to left in the store.
Oh, that's
But, but so it might not be useful here, but maybe you do have, a list that would be useful to sort that way. This is obviously very limited.
okay.
There's ways in which you probably would want to add other information that would make it easier to sort on things. But like, what if you could come in here with all of your lists and sort them by the type of list they are? I have that type in there, but I don't actually make use of it. And that was actually what I had in mind, was like, what if you want to see all of your shopping lists together, and you want to see all of your to-do lists together, that could be useful. So.
Okay. I was just curious if you had done that yet, but
No,
that's okay.
not yet. No, and if I remember correctly, let me take a look here.
You might be able to answer the question I had regarding it, though.
Sure.
Because I'm still trying to understand exactly how Angular interacts with the components and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you did have that method in there, how do you call it in the other components to use it? Or would it stay would you just be using it here? Does that
Okay.
make sense to call it?
Yeah. So this is the beautiful thing about classes, right?
Yeah.
If you have a method of a class, then any object you create from this class has that method too.
Okay, yeah.
So if we were over here in current list, and current list is a list, therefore, if I had a sort method, I could just say current list dot sort.
Okay.
And any you'd have to say what you want to sort it on, so it would have a parameter. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
it would still work.
that's
then.
it. You can, and if I had some other list that was called by some other name, I would just say, that list dot sort, because it comes with the class.
All right, cool. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure because Angular, I was still trying to get the how is everything interacting and
Yeah, as long as you import it.
things. Yeah. Okay.
When you import it, everything that belongs to that class comes with it, so that any item you have that is of that class has all of its functionality too.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Sure. More questions? If not, that's totally okay. I know this was a lot. It would have been a lot more if I had stepped it back even further, taken some more of this code out. But I knew that it was going to take a while just to go through this. And so I'm going to make some decisions along those same lines on kind of where I cut things for the starter code that I put in the starter code branch of the GitHub repo. And I will try to include some extra notes, and I might even go ahead and finish a couple of these things we talked about that would be good to have, and get those in there too. But my priority is to get it out for people sooner rather than later. So I want to at least get it to the point where it is right now out for everyone. And then because we're on such a tight timeline with this, I know everyone's trying to get it finished up this weekend. So I will get that sorted out as quickly as possible, and I'll get this recording processed and get it up on there too. Any last questions before I start recording? Okay.